Welcome to Power to Unlocked. Today, we're diving deep into a truth that might shake everything you thought you knew about power, survival, and the way the world really works. Imagine for a moment that inside every one of us, there's a dog, loyal, kind, obedient, and eager to please. But what if that dog isn't enough? What if the world demands something far more fierce, far more cunning? What if, as Machiavelli warned, we must kill the dog inside us and embrace the wolf? It's a harsh idea, and it's not for the faint-hearted. Machiavelli, the father of political realism, challenged centuries of gentle thinking by insisting that sometimes, to truly succeed, you have to abandon innocence, mercy, and the comfort of being liked. The wolf is ruthless, strategic, and always alert. The dog waits to be petted, the wolf watches for prey. But why does Machiavelli say this? Why must we shed the softness and become predators in a world that often rewards cunning over kindness? This story isn't about becoming cruel or heartless. It's about understanding the survival code hidden beneath the surface of society. The rules that separate the weak from the powerful, the naive from the wise. Throughout history, leaders who succeeded were not the most gentle or the most honest, but the most adaptable, the ones willing to play the game with eyes wide open. In a world where everyone wants to be loved, Machiavelli demands respect, and respect comes to those who act with the sharp instincts of a wolf. You might be asking yourself, is this really the path I want to take? Must I kill the dog inside me? That question is at the heart of today's exploration. It's a story about inner conflict, about the battle between comfort and ambition, between compassion and survival. We'll explore what it means to be the wolf, but also what is lost when we kill the dog. How much of our humanity do we sacrifice when we decide to embrace this darker side? And what does Machiavelli truly mean when he tells us to be both a fox and a lion? As we unravel these ideas, you'll meet powerful figures from history who embodied this wolf mentality, people who shaped nations, toppled empires, and rewrote the rules of leadership. We'll see how this idea applies not just to kings and politicians, but to everyday battles in your own life, whether at work, in relationships, or in pursuing your dreams. But beware, this journey isn't about easy answers or happy endings. It's about facing uncomfortable truths and deciding how far you're willing to go. Will you stay loyal to the dog inside, hoping kindness is enough? Or will you answer Machiavelli's call and demand the wolf within? The choice you make could change everything. So stay with me as we peel back the layers of power, fear, and survival. This is not just a story about Machiavelli or politics, it's a story about you. And as the tension rises, the stakes grow higher. Because in a world that rewards the wolf, sometimes kindness can be a dangerous weakness. What happens when the dog dies and the wolf takes over? Let's find out, but be ready, because this is only the beginning. To understand why Machiavelli's demand to kill the dog resonates so deeply, we have to step back into a world far different from our own, yet strangely similar in its raw hunger for power and survival. The Italy of the Renaissance was no place for the faint or the trusting. City-states were locked in endless battles for dominance, alliances shifted like sand, and betrayal was as common as breathing. Machiavelli wasn't writing fairy tales. He was recording the brutal reality of politics, where idealism could be fatal and weakness was punished without mercy. In that world, the dog, the loyal, trusting part of human nature, was vulnerable. It left leaders exposed to enemies who lurked in the shadows, ready to strike at the first sign of softness. Machiavelli's wolf, on the other hand, was a creature of instinct and strategy. It moved silently, calculating each step with cold precision. It knew when to fight and when to flee, when to show teeth and when to lie low. To survive, leaders had to adopt this mentality, blending cunning with strength. It was not about cruelty for cruelty's sake, but about mastering the game where everyone else was playing to win. But what about us, living in a world far removed from Renaissance wars? Why does this ancient advice still echo in our lives today? Because beneath the polished surface of modern society, the same hunger for survival pulses on. Whether it's climbing the ladder at work, navigating relationships, or simply standing firm in the face of hardship, the challenge remains. How much of your gentle side can you afford to show before it becomes a liability? How much of your inner wolf must you awaken to protect yourself and achieve your goals? This conflict between the dog and the wolf isn't just a metaphor, it's a daily struggle many face without even realizing it. The world often rewards those who act decisively, who don't hesitate to push boundaries, and who understand that sometimes kindness must be sacrificed for progress. Yet, this transformation is never simple. It shakes us to our core, forcing us to confront fears we hide even from ourselves. And here lies the mystery. Is it possible to be the wolf without losing the dog completely? Can we harness the power Machiavelli speaks of without becoming something unrecognizable? Or does answering this call demand a price we aren't ready to pay? The answer isn't clear, and that uncertainty is what drives this story forward. It's a tale of inner battle, where every choice has consequences, and where the line between survival and surrender blurs. As we continue, keep asking yourself, who do you want to be when the world stops being kind? The obedient dog waiting for approval, or the wolf, fierce and untamed, ready to claim what's yours? The path ahead is shadowed, and the next steps will reveal just how far you're willing to go. The struggle between the dog and the wolf is not just an external battle. It's a war waged inside every one of us. On one side, there's comfort, the familiar voice that urges kindness, loyalty, and trust. It tells us to be patient, to wait for things to come our way, to believe in fairness and goodwill. On the other side, the wolf snarls with urgency, pushing us toward action, strategy, and sometimes harsh decisions. It whispers that the world doesn't owe us anything, and if we want to survive and thrive, we have to claim our place, even if that means shedding some of what we once held dear. This conflict plays out differently depending on who you are and where you stand. For some, it's a fight to maintain integrity in a cutthroat workplace where office politics reward the bold and punish the hesitant. For others, it's the tension between protecting loved ones and doing what's necessary to provide and defend them in a world that doesn't always play fair. And then there are those whose battles are quieter, but no less intense, struggling with self-doubt, fear of rejection, or the desire to break free from expectations that keep them trapped in the role of the obedient dog. Machiavelli's message challenges us all to question, how much softness can the world tolerate? When does loyalty become weakness? When does kindness invite exploitation? These questions aren't easy to answer, especially when the wolf's path feels lonely and dangerous. The wolf often walks alone, mistrusted by those who prefer the comfort of the dog. But the wolf also sees the truth beneath the surface, the truths others ignore or deny. As these tensions simmer beneath our daily lives, the stakes rise. Every choice to hold on to kindness or to embrace cunning shapes who we become. And the more the world tests us, the clearer it becomes that killing the dog inside might not be a suggestion. It could be a demand. But what happens after the dog dies? That question lingers in the air, unanswered, waiting for the moment when you decide what kind of creature you truly are. The air grows heavier with every passing moment, and the quiet war inside intensifies. The dog, once full of hope and trust, feels the weight of betrayal and disappointment. It senses that kindness alone can no longer shield from the harsh realities that surround it. The wolf prowls closer, its eyes sharp and unyielding, waiting for the moment to claim control. There's no turning back now. The choice hangs in the balance, fragile and urgent. In the world outside, pressures mount like an unseen storm. Opportunities slip away to those who move faster, who dare more, who understand that mercy is often mistaken for weakness. The dog's gentle bark is drowned out by the growl of the wolf, a reminder that survival demands more than good intentions. The stakes have never been higher, and the tension builds with a force that's impossible to ignore. Inside, the conflict reaches a boiling point. The dog clings to fragments of loyalty, compassion, and hope, while the wolf urges decisive action, cunning, and strength. Every instinct battles another, a relentless push and pull that leaves no room for peace. The world watches, indifferent, as the lines between friend and foe blur and the quiet moments of doubt give way to the thunder of imminent choice. Around you, the consequences loom larger than ever. Relationships hang by threads, careers face crossroads, and dreams tremble under the pressure of impossible decisions. The dog's soft heart risks being shattered, but the wolf's cold hunger threatens to consume what remains. The path forward is unclear, shadowed by fear and uncertainty. Yet, the moment approaches, the moment where the dog either fades away or rises stronger as the wolf it was destined to become. The silence before that moment is deafening. You can almost hear the breath of the wolf, waiting. What happens next will change everything, but for now, the question remains: are you ready to answer the call? Just when it seems the battle inside has reached its peak, something unexpected shifts the ground beneath. The wolf, so sure of its dominance, senses a flicker, a shadow of the dog still lingering, refusing to vanish completely. This isn't just a simple fight anymore. It's a tangled web of survival, trust, and hidden truths that neither side fully understands. Suddenly, what seemed like a clear choice becomes a maze with no easy exit. The world outside reacts in kind. Allies once thought dependable reveal cracks in their loyalty. The very survival tactics the wolf relied on are tested by forces unseen, forcing a reconsideration of what strength really means. In the midst of rising tension, the dog's voice, quieter but not gone, finds new ways to be heard. It speaks not just of softness or weakness, but of unexpected resilience and a power that doesn't roar but quietly endures. This twist shakes everything. The wolf's hunger for control clashes with the dog's stubborn pulse of hope. The lines blur between predator and protector, between cunning and compassion. Suddenly, survival isn't about killing the dog or surrendering to the wolf. It's about finding a balance that neither side expected. But that balance is fragile, and every moment brings new risks. Behind the scenes, hidden pressures tighten their grip. Secrets long buried begin to surface, threatening to unravel not just the internal conflict, but the very foundation of what's been built. Trust fractures. Decisions become more complex. The stakes rise higher than ever as the audience watches, breath held, knowing the climax is drawing near but unsure what shape it will take. This second twist forces a reckoning. Can the wolf survive without the dog's lingering spirit? Can the dog transform without losing its essence? The story deepens, questions multiply, and suspense tightens its hold. What began as a simple call to kill the dog now demands a deeper understanding of power, survival, and the human heart's unyielding complexity. As this tension swells, the ultimate moment approaches, a moment that will test everything you thought you knew about strength and weakness. Will the wolf's roar finally silence the dog? Or will something unexpected change the course forever? The answer waits just beyond the horizon, and the story refuses to let go. The moment of reckoning finally arrives like a storm breaking over a fragile landscape. The dog and the wolf, once locked in a fierce battle, begin to realize they are not enemies, but two halves of the same whole. The wolf's sharp instincts and the dog's unwavering loyalty merge into a force neither could wield alone. It is here, in this unexpected unity, that true power emerges, a power rooted in both strength and compassion, cunning and trust. For a long time, the wolf believed killing the dog was the only way to survive. But as the tension reaches its peak, it becomes clear that survival demands more than ruthlessness. It demands wisdom to know when to fight, when to yield, and when to protect what truly matters. The dog's gentle heart, once seen as a weakness, becomes the very shield that the wolf needs to navigate a world full of threats. The wolf's fierce courage gives the dog the edge it lacked to stand firm. This fusion transforms everything. The external world, once hostile and unforgiving, begins to shift in response. Relationships heal, strategies sharpen, and the path forward, though still challenging, feels less lonely. The story that started as a demand to kill the dog now reveals a deeper truth. Power is not about erasing who you are, but embracing all parts of yourself, even the parts that seem vulnerable. Just when it feels like the conflict is resolved, an unexpected shadow appears. The wolf's triumph and the dog's survival awaken something deeper, a new challenge that neither foresaw. Beneath the surface, a quiet voice warns that this balance is fragile and that the world is always ready to test those who claim it. The wolf and the dog must remain vigilant, for the next battle may come when they least expect it. This final twist leaves the story open, a reminder that the struggle between kindness and strength, trust and cunning is never truly over. It is a cycle, an endless dance that shapes who we are and who we become. The true question isn't whether you kill the dog or embrace the wolf. It's whether you can live with both, fiercely and fully, in a world that demands everything. And so, the story ends not with a simple victory, but with a powerful challenge. The journey continues, and the real test lies ahead. Are you ready to face it? The story now settles into a quiet but powerful conclusion, one that feels less like an ending and more like a beginning. The battle between the dog and the wolf, once so fierce and clear-cut, has transformed into a dance of balance. This isn't a story about choosing one side over the other, but about understanding that both are essential to who we are. The wolf's sharpness and the dog's loyalty together create a strength that's both fierce and compassionate. The kind of power that can navigate the complexities of life with wisdom. Questions that seemed impossible to answer begin to find their place. The tension between kindness and survival no longer feels like a contradiction, but a challenge to live authentically. It's okay to be gentle in a world that demands toughness. It's possible to be strong without losing your humanity. This story reminds us that embracing the full spectrum of ourselves is the truest form of power. The dog inside you doesn't need to die. It just needs to find its voice alongside the wolf. The subplots, the inner conflicts, and the external pressures all come together to highlight a simple truth. Life is complicated, and so are we. Whether it's in leadership, relationships, or personal growth, the lessons from Machiavelli's Wolf and Dog are about adaptability, courage, and balance. This isn't about becoming someone else, but becoming more of yourself, stronger, wiser, and more alive. As you reflect on this journey, remember that the world will always test your limits. There will be moments when the wolf's instincts call louder and times when the dog's heart must lead. The key is to listen to both, to know when to fight and when to protect, and to never lose sight of who you are beneath the struggle. Thank you for joining this exploration of power, survival, and the human spirit. If this story resonated with you, think about the wolf and dog within your own life. Which parts are you ready to embrace? And how will you move forward knowing that true strength comes from harmony, not destruction? The journey doesn't end here. It's just the next chapter. Stay curious, stay brave, and remember, killing the dog isn't the answer, but awakening the wolf with heart might just be the beginning of your greatest transformation.